Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
And together we're Backyard Musings, Apple Valley, People's Republic of California.
Yep, in the living rooms again and talking about this is a topic that I would imagine affects probably 90% of the people in the United States, with the exception of what? Arizona and Hawaii. I think those are the only two states that don't do what we're about to talk about.
So. And I think it's controversial. Like 50% of people are for it, 50 against,
Yeah.
A new analysis from Stanford Medicine's scientists shows that shifting clocks twice a year disrupts circadian rhythms and is linked to higher risks of stroke and obesity. Each spring, Americans move their clocks forward for daylight saving time, and each fall, they set them back to standard time. So spring forward, fall back. You guys, your parents have told you that. A routine that few enjoy. That's right. Probably, like we said, 50% are okay with it, 50% are not. Beyond being inconvenient, this twice yearly change has been shown to negatively affect health. Losing an hour of sleep on the second Sunday in March has been associated with increases in heart attacks and fatal car accidents in the days that follow. Okay.
Crazy.
Now, Stanford Medicine researchers report that the risks go beyond short-term effects and that healthier alternatives exist. This study was published on September 15, 2025 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Scientists. Would you like to know more?
Yeah, so the one in the spring is brutal, right? Because we move the clocks back. Or no, spring forward, fall back. So fall, we gain we lose the hour. That's a brutal one too, because it gets darker earlier.
Yep.
Anyway, the team analyzed how three possible time policies, year-round standard time, year-round daylight savings time, and the current twice yearly shift, influence circadian rhythms, and in turn, public health across the United States. Circadian rhythm refers to the body's natural 24-hour cycle that regulates numerous biological functions. From this perspective, the researchers concluded that the current system is the least favorable. They found that permanent standard time or permanent daylight saving time would both be healthier, with standard time offering the greatest overall benefits. Okay.
Using county-level data on light exposure, circadian effects, and health patterns, the study estimated that adopting permanent standard time could prevent about 300,000 strokes annually. Wow. That's like 7 or 8% of the population.
Is it 7? It's about 1%, right? Which
is
still a lot.
300 million. 300,
how many?
Yeah. Okay. So, million? Yeah. So almost 1%. Okay. Yeah. Almost 1%.
Yeah.
And reduce obesity by 2.6 million cases. Permanent daylight saving time would provide roughly 2/3 of those same benefits.
Quote, we found that staying in standard time or staying in daylight saving time is definitely better than switching twice a year. This is according to Jamie Zeitzer, PhD, professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences, and senior author of the study. The lead author is Laura Weed, a graduate student in bioengineering. Interesting. Yeah.
Even among those who agree that seasonal clock changes should end, there is little consensus on which system should replace them. Quote, you have people who are passionate on both sides of this, like I said, 50%, and they have very different arguments, said Zeitzer.
Advocates for permanent daylight savings time argue that extended evening light can reduce energy use, discourage crime, and provide more time for recreation after work. I agree with that. Industries such as golf courses and outdoor shopping centers strongly favor this approach, according to Zeitzer. Yet, when the United States briefly adopted the permanent daylight saving time in 1974, and I was asking my wife earlier when I was studying this, I do not remember that. It proved so unpopular that policy was reversed within a year. Many parents, for example, objected to children heading to school before sunrise. Well, that happens.
I think I remember it, but vaguely. I was 7 years old, so I remember vaguely that happened.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Still, daylight savings time was later lengthened from 6 to 7 months And since 2018, lawmakers have introduced bills almost every year to make it permanent, though none have passed. On the other side, supporters of permanent standard time emphasize that morning light is more beneficial for overall health. Groups including the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the National Sleep Foundation, and the American Medical Association have all publicly endorsed standard time as the year-round option.
So it used to be April and October.
Yeah, but if it's year-round, if you got these medical people advocating for this year-round, they're the medical experts. I'm not a medical expert.
Right. The human circadian cycle is not exactly 24 hours. For most people, it's about 12 minutes longer. That's weird. But it can be modulated by light. Quote, when you get light in the morning, it speeds up the circadian cycle. When you get light in the evening, it slows things down, Zeitzer said. Going on with the quote, you generally need more morning light and less evening light to keep well synchronized to a 24-hour day. An out-of-sync circadian cycle has been associated with a range of poor health outcomes, like we talked about at the beginning.
So what do they do with the astronauts on the International Space Station or traveling in a spaceship?
What do they do? That's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Quote, the more light exposure you get at the wrong times, the weaker the circadian clock. All of these things that are downstream, for example, your immune system, your energy, don't match up quite as well, Zeitzer said. The researchers used a mathematical model to translate light exposure under each time policy based on local sunrise and sunset times to circadian burden, essentially how much a person's innate clock has to shift to keep up with the 24-hour day.
They found that over a year, most people would experience the least circadian burden under permanent standard time, which prioritizes morning light. The benefits vary somewhat by person's location within a time zone and their chronotype, whether they prefer early mornings, late nights, or something in between.
What about Alaska? I mean, they're 6 months in the dark and 6 months in the light.
What about, yeah, exactly. What about people do all countries go by this? I mean, does Europe use this kind of time? And
I don't know.
When you were over in the Middle East serving, did you change the time over there?
We didn't spring forward or fall back. No, we did not in Afghanistan or Iraq.
Huh.
But we noted, like calling home to family, we noted that they moved an hour forward, but we didn't.
Right. Well, plus you were several hours ahead anyway, right?
Nine and a half.
But you still had to make that adjustment. So.
Yeah. I mean, because back home, they sprung forward, so it now is an 8-hour difference.
Right.
Okay. Counterintuitively, people who are morning larks, who make up about 15% of the population, tend to have circadian cycles shorter than 24 hours, would experience the least circadian burden under permanent daylight savings times, as more evening light would extend their circadian cycles closer to 24 hours.
To link circadian burden to specific health outcomes, the researchers analyzed county-level data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on the prevalence of arthritis, cancer, chronic obstruction, pulmonary disease or obstructive pulmonary disease, coronary heart disease, depression, diabetes, obesity, and stroke. Well, that just about covers it.
Yeah, their models show that permanent standard time would lower the nationwide prevalence of obesity by 0.78% and the prevalence of stroke by 0.09%, conditions influenced by circadian health. These seemingly small percentage changes in common conditions would amount to 2.6 million fewer people with obesity and 300,000 fewer cases of stroke. Wait a second. Originally in this article, we said that's how many people are affected nationwide.
So they're saying it would wipe it out?
I guess that's what they're saying.
Wow.
Under permanent daylight time, the nationwide prevalence of obesity would decrease by 0.51% or 1.7 million people, and stroke by 0.04% or 220,000 cases.
As expected, the models predicted no significant difference in conditions such as arthritis that have no direct link to circadian rhythms. The study might be the most evidence-based analysis of the long-term health implications of different time policies, but it's far from the last word, Zeitzer said.
For one thing, the researchers didn't account for many factors that could influence real-life light exposure, including weather, geography, and human behavior. In their calculations, the researchers assumed consistent and relatively circadian-friendly light habits, including a 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. sleep schedule. We should do that. We should impose a sleep schedule, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. nationwide. I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure the Democrats could do something like that.
Well, but then you got people that go to work at before that. So
Too bad, man.
well, what are you going to
Nationwide.
do? Well, not that I have a whole lot of experience with this, but what are you going to do about school bus drivers?
Yeah, I know.
They got to get up early and pick those kids up before school. And here, some
We just adjust school to the times within there.
Yeah, could do that, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, continuing on sunlight exposure before and after work and on weekends. If you didn't notice, I was being facetious. I've got a sarcasm. Well, sarcasm is the recourse of a weak mind, so I guess I got a weak mind. And indoor light exposure from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and after sunset. But in reality, many people have erratic sleep cycles and spend more time indoors.
Quote, people's light habits are probably much worse than what we assume in the models, Zeitzer said. Quote, continue with a quote, even in California where the weather is great, yeah, that's about it. People spend less than 5% of the day outside. That's kind of crazy. I wouldn't have even thought about it. They must not be talking about kids. Moreover, though, circadian health seems to favor permanent standard time. The results are not conclusive enough to overshadow other considerations. Zeitzer hopes the study will encourage similar evidence-based analysis from other fields such as economics and sociology.
He also pointed out that time policy is simply choosing which clock hours represent sunrise and sunset, not altering the total amount of light there is. No policy will add light to the dark winter months. Quote, that's the sun and the position of the earth, he said. We can't do anything about it. I bet you the Dems can do something about it.
Well, they might try. But you're right. Because we tilt, right? We're on a different axis.
We're on a different axis, that's right. And we're going around the sun differently. It varies every year, right? So
right.
That's why we have ice ages.
Yeah, so in the summertime, late spring and summer into fall, the sun is almost directly over our head. As we go into winter, it's more towards the south. So, that's not going to change.
Another 10,000 years, we'll go through another ice age,
right?
Because of the position of the Earth.
Exactly. So,
all right, folks. I hope we didn't confuse you.
Yeah, good story, and let us know. They always seem to want to put this on the ballot every once in a while too, but it never seems to fly. So, but anyway, good story. Take care, everyone. We'll see you later.